Hello and welcome back to Harvest Moon Farm. My name is Mickey and today's video is my week 1 of the 2024 Pantry Challenge. So I put together some sourdough bread the day before, and so I'm just prepping it now to go into the oven. So one of my goals was to do 3 new recipes in every week, and this week I was able to do 3 recipes that are new to me. The other days we had leftovers one day, we had sandwiches one day. One day my husband had an event in the evening, so I just kind of snacked. And honestly, I can't remember what the 4th day was. But we did do 3 new recipes. They were all delicious. And so the rest of this video will be going through those recipes and showing you how they turned out and how delicious and simple they were to put together. So welcome back.
So dinner tonight is garlic butter steak bites. This is a very simple recipe. I'm just going to make some rice to go with it, and we're going to have a salad. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rice started. So I'm just going to use my rice cooker. I'm going to put a cup of rice, about a cup and a quarter of water, and we're going to let that go. This usually takes about 30 to 35 minutes with this much rice. So this recipe calls for 1.5 pounds of sirloin, ribeye, strip steak, or other tender, well marbled cut. I am just using a package of stew meat because it's already about the right size. I'm just gonna, actually I don't even know if I need to cut anymore. You want to cut them in about 1-inch pieces, which this actually, I don't think I'm going to have to cut it at all because all of these are about that size. So that works out. Oh, no, that's not true. There are a few in here that are bigger. So I'll go ahead and cut those. So I just have these few pieces here that I'm going to go ahead and cut. Meat in a bowl, and I'm going to go ahead and salt and pepper it because I think that'll be easier to get it all mixed. Alright, so it says generously salt and pepper. I'm just going to kind of stir this up. Alright, in our cast iron skillet, we are going to add 1 tablespoon of olive oil and 1 tablespoon of butter. I need to refill my oil container. Alrighty, tablespoon of olive oil, tablespoon of butter, and we're going to let this butter melt in here, and then we're going to let our pan get nice and hot. Okay, now we're going to add steak pieces. And then we want to let them cook undisturbed for about 2 minutes. While those are cooking, I'm going to mince some garlic. The directions say 4 to 5 cloves. I think I have 8 because I like my stuff more garlicky. And some of these cloves are kind of small. We want our meat to be about a medium, cooked to about medium, which, see, this looks about right. So now I'm going to take these out of the pan and I'm just going to put them on this plate. And we're going to turn our heat down on our skillet to medium-low. We're going to add 3 more tablespoons of butter. We're going to melt this butter down and then we're going to add our garlic and we're going to cook it until the garlic is fragrant but not burned. We want to make sure that it doesn't start to get too brown, so you need to make sure that your temperature is low enough on under your skillet. So you want to stir this the whole time. Oh, I love the smell of garlic cooking. Oh my goodness. Okay, my garlic is looking brown, but that's because my butter was brown. Alright, so now we're going to add our steak back in there. And we're just going to let this stay warm on low. Our rice is close to being done. So while that stays warm, while our rice finishes, I'm going to go ahead and put our salad together. And I've just got one of those salad kits here. Caesar salad. Whoops! Throwing lettuce everywhere. So it's got the romaine lettuce, we've got some shredded Parmesan here, our croutons, and our dressing. I'll go ahead and get everything in here. We'll add our dressing. I'll give that a good stir. I think this actually has like a little tear thing on it, but it's easier to just cut it. And I want to make sure I get all of the dressing out. There we go. So I'm going to use my little salad tongs, I guess is what they would be called, and go ahead and mix this all together. And that's pretty much it. As soon as our rice is done, we will be ready to eat. So that was a really simple dinner. It was quick to put together. It was easy to put together. I did get grease all over my stove, of course, from frying that meat, but that's okay. All right, there's our salad. Got a spoon for our rice, and it should be ready any minute. All right. Our rice is done, so I'm going to go ahead and split this up some of this meat. Ow. Yes. And we'll add some salad to our plates and we'll be ready to roll. And I am so hungry. All right, look at that. Looky there. So our steak, our rice, our salad, and that's our dinner for tonight. All right, tonight we are making some creamy garlic pork chops. So I've got some pork chops that I got out and thawed earlier today. In my skillet, I'm gonna add about a tablespoon of olive oil. I'm gonna take my pork chops out of their package, and we're gonna salt and pepper these on both sides.
Sometimes it just needs to move over. I'll just go out and check on it. See if I can put it in a blanket or something. I'll put something old.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and let our skillet heat up. To our olive oil, we're gonna add a tablespoon of butter. I've got some potatoes here. I'm just gonna parboil, and then I'm going to cook them in some of this leftover sauce and butter when we're done. Okay, so we're going to put our pork chops in. We're going to let our pork chops sear about 3 to 5 minutes per side. Alright, we're going to go ahead and take our pork chops out of the pan and set them to the side. We're going to turn our heat down, and we are going to add another tablespoon of butter. And a half a cup of chicken broth. Oops, I did that wrong. The chicken broth should not have gone in yet. Whoops. Oh well. Now this calls for an entire head of cloves, so I'm going to put in about 5 or 6 cloves. And I said cloves, and I meant garlic. So I put in about, I think I put in 6 there. I'm going to let those cook. Probably not going to work out exactly the way it's supposed to since I did it in the wrong order, but I'm sure it will still be good. So we're going to let these cook for a minute. We're supposed to be browning our garlic, but since I put it in after the chicken broth, it's probably not going to brown exactly the way I wanted it to. That will be fine. It'll still have the flavor. And this is going to make a sauce, so I'm actually going to cook my potatoes, brown my potatoes in a skillet with some bacon grease. We're gonna swap our spots here. I'm gonna turn that down. And I'm gonna go ahead and get these potatoes out of the water so I can get this saucepan off my stove. And let this bacon grease get all melted. There we go. Okay, so in our cast iron, I'm going to push the garlic off to the side, and I'm going to add a tablespoon of flour. I'm going to put the potatoes in this bacon grease. I'm going to give them a little salt and pepper. I'm just going to let those cook down. So my flour, I'm going to stir it around in here. Now this is when I should have added my my chicken stock. I'm going to go ahead and add just a little more. And I'm going to add a little bit of lemon juice, about a half a teaspoon. And I will link this recipe down in the description box so you guys can follow it, since I apparently couldn't. So we just want to cook this until it's getting thicker, which it is. And then we're going to add in just a 1/4 teaspoon of garlic powder and 3/4 of a cup of heavy cream. And I'm not measuring, I'm just going to kind of pour and stir until it looks like what I want it to look like. So basically what we're doing is making just a kind of a creamy gravy that we're going to pour our pork chops back in and finish cooking. Whoops. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and put the pork chops back in this sauce now. And we're going to keep cooking them until they are completely cooked through. Go ahead and give our potatoes a little toss. We might need a little more bacon grease. And I'm going to sprinkle just a little bit of garlic powder on my potatoes so everything's got that garlic overtone to it. And then we'll let these keep cooking until they get brown. Our pork chops should take another maybe 5 minutes. So I'm just going to let everything sit here and cook until it's all done. And then for a vegetable, I've just got a jar of green beans, and I'm just going to heat those up, and they'll go with our pork chops and potatoes. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give this sauce a little taste test. Ooh, really good. That's delicious. I'm going to give me the smaller of the pork chops. And I'm going to put some of this sauce over the top of mine. Oh my goodness. So delicious looking. Alright, so go ahead and scrape up this that's cooked to the bottom as much as possible. And make sure we don't waste any of that delicious cream sauce.
So for our third new recipe, we are doing a honey garlic chicken. So I have a bunch of chicken breasts that I thawed, and I'm just cutting them in smaller, roughly bite-sized pieces so that they're easier to eat and you don't have to cut them when you add them to the rice. And the original recipe calls for chicken thighs, but I prefer chicken breast meat, and I didn't have any boneless, skinless chicken thighs, so I opted to go with chicken breasts. So I'm just going to cut those and get them ready so that we can start adding our next ingredients and getting it ready to go in the skillet. And then to our chicken pieces that we've got in our bowl, we're going to add about 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of pepper. And then we're just going to stir all of that together with our chicken. I did already start my rice cooker with some rice in it because the rice is going to take a little bit longer to cook than the chicken. So I've got it going, adding my salt and pepper, and then we're just going to give that a nice stir. What we want to do here is make sure that the chicken is all well coated with the cornstarch. And if I remember, I did end up adding a little bit more cornstarch to make sure that all the pieces got really well covered. Oh, yes, I did. Just want to make sure that they're covered because this is, not only is this going to help thicken up your sauce later, but also will get like a nice crispy coating on your chicken when you cook it. And then the next thing that I'm going to do before I start cooking the chicken is just go ahead and mix up the ingredients for our sauce. So we're going to use about 1/3 of a cup of honey, 1/3 of a cup of chicken stock. This is the stock that I had left over from when I made the pork chops. So it was in the fridge, so it had solidified or gelled, I guess. And then we're going to add some soy sauce and some rice vinegar. And I will link this full recipe down below so that you can follow it. But we're just going to put all those in, and then we're just going to whisk that all together. And I'm trying to be gentle here since the chicken stock was in gel form. I don't want to splash it all over my counter. So I'm just going to get this all mixed up, and then now I'm going to get ready to cook our chicken. So you just want to put a little bit of vegetable oil in your pan, let it get hot, and then we are going to put our little chicken pieces in there, single layer, so that they can all get a nice brown coating so that they're nice and crispy in our final recipe. So the amount of chicken that I had for my husband and me was just about perfect for putting in my skillet and letting it all cook at one time without being on top of each other. So now we're going to let that cook about 4 or 5 minutes on one side until you get a nice, really brown coating, and then you're going to turn it over and let it cook for another 2 minutes. I did struggle a little bit trying to turn this over, as you can see, but you can see there as I flip that most of that chicken is starting to get really nice and brown. And so I did kind of play around with the pieces a little bit, making sure that they got turned, the uncooked side got turned down into the oil so that it also got a nice brown coating on each side. And of course, I'm frying chicken, so grease is splattering everywhere. I don't know why it took me so long to remember that I had that little screen that would help prevent the grease from flying quite so much all over my stove. So now we're going to add some garlic. So we want to add about 4 cloves minced, and then we are just going to stir that all together, and it is smelling so good in the kitchen at this moment. Then we're going to give our sauce a little whisk and pour it on top. And we're going to stir that all into our chicken. Then we want to turn our heat back up and bring that sauce to a boil and just leave it now until it starts to really thicken up. So this is where that cornstarch is going to help thicken up that sauce. And then I gave us each a bowl of rice, and then I topped it with the chicken. It was so very good. I did end up throwing a little sprinkle of sesame seeds on there. If you've got some green onions kind of sliced up, that would be delicious as well. And so there we are. This is our week 1 of our pantry challenge.